Hey guys, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I'm your host Magnet, and today we're going to be learning about some TvP openers that a lot of people like to use. There are a ton of different openers, but these are ones that I really recommend because they're very flexible. They allow of an early expansion in both cases, and more importantly, they stay safe from pretty much anything that the opponent can throw at you. So yeah, we're going to be playing Terran, of course, against a Protoss opponent, and we're going to be reviewing everything that you'll want to look out for when running these openers, as well as, more importantly, learning how to run them. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the game right now, and we will get started. As you can see, I'm already in a custom game lobby. I'm going to go ahead and add a Protoss. If you're going to be doing builds like practicing like this, which I've done a million times before, it definitely does not hurt. You can just put it against a very easy AI so that you can just focus on doing everything that you need to do on time, which is a very big part of running any build. Okay, so we are counting down right now. Nothing too special about the game settings, but yeah, I don't really know what to say right here. So in both cases, these are just going to basically be builds where you can scout and kind of figure out what the opponent is doing while getting a pretty early command center. We're not going to be aggressive in these openers at all because really Terran aggression shouldn't work against Protoss that much.
In the rear with the gear. Let's go.
Not enough minerals.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rally out workers as much as we can. You don't want to ever have any worker gaps here, as we've covered in the macro video. If you do, that's going to throw your build timing off, and you might be like, this doesn't work for me. And it's like, well, you should have actually just done things on time. So okay, once you're on 9 supply, make sure that he is rallied down to build your supply depot at your wall, while also putting another one in queue, so that this way it works out so that when your SCV gets there, you can start building the SCV and you don't have to pull somebody off the worker line. So you can see it's pretty seamless. Once he gets there, he starts it up. We're on 10 supply right now. We're going to go ahead and make an 11th worker, put him in queue. We're also going to put a 12th worker in queue. As we can see, we're at 11 supply right now. 12 is going to come up right there. We're going to make our barracks on 12, and we're going to go from there. There's going to be a little bit of a time between when the supply depot finishes and when the command center is able to make more workers. Don't worry about that too much. It's not the biggest of deals. Okay, we're about ready for the barracks. We're going to go ahead and start that. We're going to start our gas on 13 pretty early because we need to make sure we get this Reaper out as soon as possible. And the Reaper is not to get a whole bunch of kills. It's just to be sure that you can scout.
Not enough minerals.
So we're going to go ahead and make a gas as soon as we can with him. 14 supply. We're going to continue to make workers here. Look, you had a tiny gap there, but it looks like we got it timed out right this time. Since you know we're going to be making Reaper first, just set your rally over to his base. You don't have to worry about that. This is some pretty intense music we got going on here. It's probably a lot louder for me than it is for you. And go up to 16 workers before you make your orbital. I prefer that. I guess there's not really that much of a difference, but I think that it just helps out just a tiny little bit. Your gas isn't going to line up perfectly for when you want to start the Reaper, so just start the Reaper as soon as you have the money for it. So you should be able to go orbital right now, and then Reaper.
Not enough minerals.
We can see Reaper's at 16 supply. It puts us at 17 because the Reaper costs 1 supply. And immediately as the Reaper's done, we're going to drop a reactor, and we're going to continue to make Marines as we set up our expansion. And I did neglect to mention that as soon as the barracks is done, go ahead and make the second depot so that any scouting workers can't get in there. That's pretty annoying.
You scared me.
Okay. Go ahead and drop your mule and make an SCV as soon as your orbital is done, like is normal with any build. You can go ahead and open up the wall now because you can kill stuff with your Reaper. And you want to start your expansion right now and a reactor on your barracks. Don't skip any workers here. Your command center is going to be on about 19 supplies. You can see this is where it's lining up to be right now. Go ahead and start that. We're going to set our Reaper to a hotkey so we can see what he sees. But we're not going to do too much with him right now. I'm just going to set him on a quick little rally around the base just because this is a very easy computer. You don't want to get the wrong impression as far as what we're supposed to be learning here. Now, once you have a free second after you've sent your Reaper out to scout, start setting up a bunker here because you want to fill that up with Marines as soon as possible. And this isn't going to be too long. I mean, this is just an opener, right? So we just want to explain the basic concepts. Once you're on about 24 supplies, you want to drop another depot so you don't miss any time on Marines or SCVs. You could have done it just a tiny bit earlier, and I'm getting a little bit distracted because I'm talking. And you can be active out with this Reaper if you have the APM to spare. Continue to drop your mules as much as you can. If you lost your Reaper for some reason, you really need to see what's going on, you can spend a scan here. We'll go ahead and send these guys into the bunker. And then behind this, just to be safe, you probably want to drop 2 extra barracks.
Go ahead. Go, go, go.
And we'll run until the orbital is ready to start on this, which should line up just perfectly. There we go. Okay, cool. So, let's watch the replay and review what we just did, and I'll explain why this opener works, or at least should work, when you're in your own games. Alright, so... now, I have to apologize, there is a bug in Battle.net right now that makes it really difficult to seamlessly do these kinds of videos. It has this stupid bug where it says input limit reach, and I can't get around it until they fix it. So we'll just have to wait for a little while until this comes up. But the point of these builds is that Protoss players nowadays are really passive, and for a good reason. Both races kind of have to be passive in the openers for these two. You can be aggressive as Terran, but you're just kind of relying on the Protoss making a mistake if you do any actual damage. So the purpose of the Reaper is to kind of get in there and be like, okay, is he doing anything crazy? Do I need to add bunkers so I don't die? Do I need to make missile turrets so I don't get killed by oracles? I mean, the Reaper will give you an opportunity to make all these decisions. I don't know why I'm waiting for custom games to load. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to watch the replay, so I just wasted a lot of time. Yay, go me. So, okay. We're going to review the supplies of the build, just to be sure that everything is on time when you run it yourself. And I'll discuss the small little adjustments you can make if you want to customize this opener to yourself just a little bit. So again, when this is started, you want to make SCVs, don't miss any time on those. I did change the rallies on these 2 workers just because I like them mining from the closer patches. Doesn't make that big of a difference, don't worry too much about it. And we will, we'll just go on my vision, doesn't matter. Okay, so again, we're going to be about to be on 9 supply, so we're on 9 right now. You can change your command center rally to rally out to your wall and put another SCV in queue so that this guy will walk out there, and as soon as he gets there you can start your depot. This will be sure that you don't mess up any of the patterns on your mining right now, and it's just a good habit to get into to know exactly what each unit is supposed to do during your opener. So go ahead and make a depot on 10, as we can see the supplies right there. Make another worker, which will put us at 11, and yet another worker, which will put us at 12 once it starts up again. 12 is going to be when your barracks goes down. You fast forward because there's not much to talk about right now. We've already seen this. And plop, there goes the barracks. And yeah, so okay, you're just basically going to be continuing to make workers off of here. As soon as you have it available on 13 supply and 75 minerals, you want to make your gas. And that's so your Reaper can get out pretty much as soon as possible without sacrificing any economy to start off the game. If you want, you can make it on 12 and just pause SCVs for just a little bit, and that'll assure that your Reaper starts basically the second your barracks is done. But it's not, I mean, that's an extra like 3 or 4 seconds at the expense of basically 1 SCV. I don't think that that's really worth it. If you do and you want to get that Reaper out just a tad earlier, maybe kill a probe, you can, but it's kind of a risk. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And again, a big part of this build is making sure that you mine gas as soon as it's done. So you don't want to have this sitting around not mining gas, because then your Reaper is going to be late. One other adjustment you can make is if you want to make an orbital on 15 instead of 16, you can, and just not make this SCV right away. But I figure the SCV is already, what, like a quarter of the way done by the time your barracks is done anyway, so I figured you might as well just keep making them and get them out and then make the orbital. Okay, cool, so we're just going to wait for the gasp, and we're also going to start another depot. I just do this so reflexively, I always forget to mention it. Just start another depot on your wall so that if he comes up here to scout, he can't get in, and if there's a probe sitting here, your Reaper will be able to kill him easily. So start your Reaper as soon as you have 50 gas, and you can see the build is running perfectly. We had basically 4 or 5 gas and like 50 or 5 minerals left over as soon as that Reaper started. That's a really good sign when you're running these openers. You want to be as tight as possible. So orbital on 16 supply, like we were talking about before, it should be orbital and Reaper basically at the exact same time. So make sure you got that down. Make sure your depots are up so he can't scout you.
Upgrade complete.
And if you are getting cheesed a lot, you might want to just, instead of sending this worker back to the mirror line, you might want to just scout around your base and make sure nothing as weird is going on, so that if the Reaper comes out, he can take care of it. We'll go ahead and continue, and we'll explain the purpose of this Reaper. Again, reactor as soon as the Reaper is done, because you want to get those Marines out to fill up your bunker as soon as possible. And then as soon as you have the money on about 19 supply, maybe 20, depends on how you run the build, you can go ahead and drop your command center here at your natural expand. So we have about a 4-minute command center. It's still pretty safe too, but you do need to be pretty active with your Reaper Scout to make sure that nothing crazy is going on. You also need to make sure you're not missing workers here, so kind of a lot to pay attention to. But once the Reaper gets here, we're going to go in, and ideally, you'd want to, if you had the APM, you could kind of kill this Zealot a little bit. You could come over here and kill a worker maybe, but most of the time, this Reaper should get here about when their Stalker's about to finish. So the best thing you can really do is you want to check what kind of mining he has, if he has all of his gas, how many gateways does he have, is he proxying something, etc. So all this Reaper is going to do is be like, okay, well, are you doing anything crazy, yes or no? If not, you can continue the build as normal. Back at home, make sure you got your bunker down on time, make sure you fill it up with your Marines as soon as humanly possible, and start that extra supply depot in about 23 or 25, just so you don't miss any time on your barracks or on your command center. You want these both producing as much as possible during this opener. Now during this time, again, if you have the APM, you can continue to scout with this Reaper. I would say you could probably set it around somewhere like right here or outside of his base somewhere, and then send it in at about 6 minutes. If you send him in at 6 minutes, that'll tell you if you need to add extra bunkers or not. And if he's out of his base at 6 minutes, then that means you're probably going to be experiencing some pressure. But if he's also out of his base, you can scout his whole base uncontested anyway. So if he has like a Dark Shrine or a Stargate or something come up, that's a really good opportunity so that you can see it. Okay, and yeah, 2 extra barracks right here are going to spend your money appropriately just so you can get that down. You don't have to continue mining gas here, but it's not bad if you can afford it just to hold on to it for just a little bit so you can start stim and start upgrades without having to take any extra geysers right away. You can play this a little bit differently, but so far this is pretty standard stuff. Yeah, besides that, I would say the only thing that you need to worry about in this stage of the game is use your Reaper at about 6 minutes to kind of scout in there and see what's going on. If he has a Nexus here, then you don't need to worry too much about getting pressured. You could even take a 3rd command center and be a little greedy. Or if he does not have a Nexus and you can get inside of his base and see a whole bunch of gateways or something, you'll know you need to start adding barracks and keep some SCVs pulled to repair so you can hold off any all-ins. Okay, that pretty much summarizes Reaper Expand. I guess, in short, the Reaper is kind of just there to make sure you're not going to die while getting in as early of command center as possible. Another adjustment I should have mentioned is you can pull off of gas if you want to spend your minerals a little better, get those barracks up a little faster. That's totally up to you. But I'd say that might be a little bit advanced if you're just looking for how to open against Protoss anyway. So you should just stick with what was in the video if you have any concerns. Again, we have to wait for this stupid bug to come through, and then we'll be covering the mine expand. Let me make sure that that's what I listed on here. Yeah, so we're basically going to be running an expand in which you put out some mines along with some bunkers. The command center is going to be slower, but the point is that if he does all-in you with anything crazy, especially in the mid-game, with like Immortals or Stargate or whatever, the mines will do a lot of damage to his army, and you should be able to hold those off. So okay, we're back in the game. We'll go ahead and create once again. Go against the Protoss. This can be a very easy Protoss once again, since all we're working on is making sure that we have everything done as soon as possible, or at least on time as best as we can. So we'll go ahead and start the game. This is going to be kind of similar to the previous one, but again, a little later command center in exchange for a little more safety, which is like how I like to vary up my builds a little bit when I'm showing you guys openers. Because I mean, the way you're going to get the best at this game, or at least better, is play in a way where you're forced to play really tight, like you're forced to run good builds, and also in a way that you can just play into further and further stages of the game so that you can outplay opponents that aren't as familiar with that stage of the game.
Not enough minerals.
Again, continue to do everything that we did before up until the gas is where this build is going to deviate from the previous one. So I don't know there's really that much to say since we've already covered this before. I'll set my rally since we're on 9, set another SCV in queue, and once he gets there, he should be able to start the depot pretty much right away. Depends on the map, actually. Go ahead and rally back. Send him to build the depot.
Not enough minerals.
Again, put the 11th guy in queue and the 12th guy in queue because we know we're going to build the barracks on 12. There's nothing else to do in between there, so just spend the money while you've got it. Don't accidentally queue up to 13 though, because then that'll screw up your barracks timing. This guy's about done. You can see the SCV should be restarted any second. You can have him just screw around or whatever while you're waiting. Doesn't really matter, but the barracks should be started as soon as possible.
Not enough minerals.
This time we're going to get our gas on 14 because it's not as urgent as before.
Not enough minerals.
So you can rally this 13th worker out to your gas in order to take it right away. Again, that's a good habit to get into if you want to practice making sure you know what every single unit is going to do once it's built. There we go.
Not
There's some
enough
Zerg
minerals.
music playing. I don't know why it's playing Zerg music during a Terran tutorial. Silly game. Once again, we're going to go ahead and make SCVs up until 16, and then we're going to start our orbital, so we can see we have 15 in queue and 16 is right there. You do want to mine gas as soon as this is done, so that's pretty much the only thing you really want to pay attention to right now. There we go. And again, build your second depot with the same SCV once he's done with that barracks. You can start a Marine in this build, though, so we're going to have a Marine instead of a Reaper. The supply should line up, or at least the minerals should line up perfectly to start your orbital as soon as that's ready. And you're just going to continually make Marines off of this barracks in order to keep yourself safe from any weird play he might be doing. Now once this SCV is done, he's going to also build your factory. The factory is going to go down pretty much at the exact same time as your orbital finishes. As you can see, the money is lining up that way.
Upgrade complete.
There we go. Whoops, I'm pressing the wrong button. I'm pressing the wrong button again. Wow, I'm bad. Build another supply depot around right now. You can wait for one more supply, which I think is a little safer because then you might be skipping SCVs for a second, which you never want to do. So go ahead and make a supply depot there. There's our factory. Again, continually make Marines and SCVs while you're going. The factory is going to be for our mines, and don't skip any time on your SCVs if you can possibly help it, because that's really not going to help out. We probably should have scouted in this build. You can if you want, but it's going to throw off your timings just a tad. Now once this 4th Marine is out, you can still start feeling free to push down into your natural a little bit. You can see the timings will be about exactly the same as the last game in terms of when your bunker is going to get started. On this factory, once that's done, you can go ahead and start a reactor on there so that you can get mines out quicker. We're going to start rallying Marines to the front. And then this same SCV built all this stuff here. He's going to build our command center as well. During this point, you probably want to also put a engineering bay up. I'm not sure if it can be before these mines. I don't think it's a problem, but we might delay our mines just a tad. So go ahead and fill your bunker with that. You can add a depot there since we will need that, and yeah, it is going to delay our mines just a tad, but that's okay.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
We'll delay our Marines just a tad too, but again, we're doing our best here, trying to get everything out as soon as possible. We do want this to be sure that we're safe from everything, and the supply depot's almost done. Once this depot's done, you're probably going to want to put a turret here just so you can assure you don't die to any DT play. And these last 2 mines are pretty much going to put a cap on the extent of this opener. Okay, so your first mine, go ahead and put it back here in your mineral line. Then your second mine, go ahead and put it back up here near your bunker. Just waiting for this to finish so I can drop my mule. And then from right here, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to go ahead and drop a couple of extra barracks if you want to. You can keep adding mines if you want to. You can get +1 attack since you have your engineering bay done. But you can continue to place mines here up near your bunker. And you don't need more than 1 bunker if you do this. And that'll pretty much do it for this opener. So we're going to go ahead and jump out, and I'll jump into the replay so we can explain everything that's going on. Now this build is a little different because it does not scout. I mean, you can if you want to, but you should be safe even if you do not scout. The whole point here is that we're planning against everything Protoss can do to us by this point in the game. We're going to have enough units, and they're going to be positioned in the correct places in order to hold off anything that those annoying Protosses might do before, I mean, what you might have to worry about. So you can only focus on running that build. Very, very, very rarely you will die to something that you won't scout, and that's a little bit of a risk in this build. But I think if you just run the build perfectly, you actually shouldn't have to worry about that too much. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wait for this stupid error to clear so we can get started. Because I don't want it pinging us during the game, that's really annoying. which it will do. I really don't know what's up with that. Is it done? Okay. So, once again, just to summarize, this build is a little later expand. It's not going to scout, but it's also going to be one that requires a little less attention than the Reaper. And it's also, just trust me on these timings. The timings for Oracle is going to be about the time that your mine gets here and it kills the Oracle in one hit. The time on your turret is going to be about the time for DTs. The time on the bunker and everything else is going to be about the time for a really aggressive attack. But you can also just give up this natural if you do get attacked here and you can't hold it, and just put mines at your ramp so he can't attack into your main. So there's a lot of flexibility with it, and it kind of is a very containing build, I guess. I don't really know how else to explain this. It's hard to say, put into words. But okay, just to review, once again, depot on 10 like we did before. Barracks is going to be on 12 like we did before. Only difference from the Reaper expand at this point is going to be when your gas is. It's going to be on 14 instead of 13. You can use this 13th worker in order to build it, so he just walks up there and starts it right away. Bam. Okay, continuing forward. I'm going to queue up to 16 SCVs so I can get my orbital down, and we've already discussed the differences between that. You can do whatever you want. Go ahead and start a Marine with this barracks. And orbital on 17 as soon as that SCV finishes. And this still is 16 workers, because there's 16 here, the Marine takes up one supply, putting us at 17. Start the orbital, you can see our money is exactly on, which is what you want to do with these kinds of builds, so that you can assure you're getting everything out the instant that it's available. The interesting thing with this build is the path of this SCV. This SCV builds this depot, this barracks, this depot, your factory, and your command center. So he's one busy dude, but it assures that you only have to worry about one guy not working this whole time. So this is a little bit better economic opening than the Reaper expand, because you have more workers mining throughout this whole opener. And it does require a little less control. So I would call this opener easier than the Reaper expand, not necessarily better. Go ahead and start your depot on 21, your third depot that is, to assure you don't get supply blocked, so you can make sure you're doing Marines and SCVs as much as humanly possible during this opener. There was a little bit of a hiccup when we were trying to get our mines out, but that's because we built an early engineering bay. You don't have to build it that early, but since you're not scouting, it is better to build it early so that you're safe against DTs. So I'd say it's worth it. But that's up to you. As you get more experience running it, it is better to make your own decisions. So again, we're going to put a bunker on the low ground once we have our 4th Marine. And this is just to assure that if they attack us with a couple of units, we can control our Marines so that we don't lose anything, and then the bunker will be ready just in case they do attack with more units a little later. So reactor on the factory as soon as it's done. Continue to make Marines and rally them forward. This is the same SCV that built the factory, just send him down here, and as soon as he gets there, he should be ready to start the command center. Bam, we're ready. Okay, and then this is about the time where you'd want to start looking at putting an engineering bay up. And again, just to review, the fastest DT timing they could do, if they were super greedy, is about 6:30, and you'll notice our turret finishes right around then. So this build, again, just basically says, alright, well, what are you capable of, and when are you capable of doing it? And I'm just going to plan against that specifically. We did have to cut SCVs for just a second because we're being a little bit aggressive with our engineering bay timing. This supply depot here is just going to be a good place to start your wall, so you can put a depot here, depot there, and wall this off entirely so that you can fend off attacks from zealots a lot better. So that's why I started this depot here, but as soon as this depot is done is when you can start your turret. And again, start your mines as soon as possible. Your first mine is going to want to go like right here in your mineral line so that you can kill an oracle that might be harassing or about to harass. And that's one of the tiniest weaknesses against like proxy Stargate in this build, but you should be able to defend pretty decently with this kind of production. Okay, orbital as soon as this is done. Start rallying your mines down here, and you can make a decision as to what you want to do. You'll notice you'll have about 200 gas and about 300 minerals. So you could put down 2 barracks and like get your +1 attack. Or if you wanted to play like mech or something different like that, you could add a starport here. You have the gas available for it. You could add a factory if you want to play mech. So the build kind of branches out for you to make your own decisions from this point. Now, what I want you to do with this build especially is make a checklist. Go through and watch the timings to say, okay, he has these units at this time. I am more than capable of having these units at this time because my workers don't, like, his workers aren't any better than mine. We use the exact same units. So if I can do just this, I should have this many units at this particular time. And in, I'd say, even leagues up to like Diamond, you should crush a majority of even all-ins. So this is just a super safe opener that you can run that protects against everything pretty well because it just maps out the timings really well. If you have any questions about either of these, go ahead and let me know in the comments. As you can see at the bottom right, I am on a gaming team and I do have a stream, so go ahead and check those links out if you wanted to get a little bit more involved in what I do. Also, please check out our sponsors which make all this possible, which is SC2 Replay Stats, Allstate, and Propel Zero. Yeah, the next video should be more openers, so look out for that. But until then, we will see you guys later. I say we, but I mean I.